This is what happens when the fourth turning meets fifth generation warfare.
A commentator, international social media sensation, and former Navy intelligence veteran.
This is Human Events with your host, Jack Posobiec.
Christ is king.
President Trump hosts last-ditch talks with congressional leaders to avoid a government shutdown.
The Democrats have become radical left lunatics. They have policies that nobody's going to buy. And, I see what's going on in New York. We're going to have perhaps a communist mayor because it's split up. If the people would get together and have one candidate, they'd have, I think, a pretty good chance. But it looks like maybe they're not going to do that. But we're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York.
A deadly attack on a church meeting house in Michigan, killing at least 2 people and injuring 8.
From what I understand, based on my conversations with the FBI director, all they know right now is this was an individual who hated people of the Mormon faith. And they are trying to understand more about this, how premeditated it was, how much planning went into it, whether he left a note. All of those questions have yet to be answered, but certainly will be answered.
One thing for sure, we must fight fire with fire.
New protests in Portland, Oregon, in response to President Trump ordering troops into the city that he claims is war-ravaged. The commander-in-chief vowing to protect ICE facilities he says are under siege by Antifa. Well, people are now taking to the streets. They are pushing back on the military move.
Antifa and other left-wing activists have rallied outside of this ICE facility here every night and clash with federal agents. Some of those protests even turning violent.
We say fight back! We say fight back! We say fight back! We say fight back!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard today's edition of Human Events Daily. We are here live in Washington, D.C. Today is September 29th, 2025, Anno Domini. It's the first show I've done in this studio since hosting the Charlie Kirk Memorial on September 11th, though we will be back in Phoenix for the rest of the week. Folks, go take a look at what happened this weekend. And after we got off the show on Friday evening, we got the word after we had interviewed the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security, where we had been saying over and over that what we need here is an activation of the Joint Terrorism Task Forces. Well, kudos to Attorney General Pam Bondi, because that's exactly what she did. The full activation of the Joint Terrorism Task Forces, and this is across the country. So there's 200 of these, many in the major cities. That's typically where they operate out of. So New York, LA, Chicago, Philly, Washington, D.C. has a special situation, Phoenix, Dallas, you take your pick. So the Joint Terrorism Task Forces, these are the fusion and ops centers for intelligence sharing and for information that can go between the various domestic terrorist groups. Some of which, by the way, Seattle, Portland, you will see flow of the fighters from various locales. They'll go from one AOR to another. So when they're moving between AORs, that's when the different Joint Terrorism Task Forces can pick them up or drop them off. And we've got to keep the pressure on. We saw incredible videos that came out over the weekend. This was great. It's still reactive, though. It's still in a reactive mode. So they're standing there, they're doing the protection, they did fantastic work, and my hat is off. Hat is absolutely off to the professional way that the ICE agents, the Border Patrol that came in to support, every other augment performed throughout this weekend. It was incredible. Also, we were able to break the news yesterday, even though it's a Sunday. We don't take days off around here. Human Events was able to break the news that the ICE officer who was involved in an incident that involved the spouse, it seems, of an illegal alien. It had been reported that he was placed under investigation, relieved of duty, that he has actually been restored to full active duty, fit for full duty, FFD, because of additional evidence that was found over the weekend. A full review of the situation took place, and it turned out that that ICE agent did not do anything wrong. So we're happy to report for you guys when something good does happen. And here's the end of the day. The people that are waging domestic insurrection against the United States of America, that have declared war on this country and all that we stand for, that we're trying to bomb. They actually uncovered a bomb at the Chicago ICE facility over the weekend. And more to the point, Charlie Kirk is not with us because of anti-fascist violence. Ladies and gentlemen, it will not stop until it is stopped. The networks are there. The networks are in place. The funding is in place. All of this needs to be investigated. It needs to be pressurized, and it needs to be wiped clean. It's really as simple as that. It needs to be wiped clean so the rest of us can go about our lives, so the rest of us can engage in civil American discourse. The troublemakers and the JTTFs know exactly who they are. They need to be rounded up. The financiers need to be shut down. Anyone involved in inciting or conspiracy to incite one of these riots, and that's what they are planned riots, they need to be taken down. It's really as simple as that. Now, we saw another horrific act of violence against the LDS church yesterday. Some other acts of violence over the weekend. We're going to get into all of that as we continue. Prime Minister Netanyahu expected to make an appearance at the White House soon. When that happens, we will cut to it, bring you all the news. Human Events Daily right back, Real America's Voice.